I want to thank Nancy Kauser, who is our executive director for SECTER, for putting this together. E.D.C is the sponsor of this, but it's definitely SECTER's show to really highlight what they could add to the business community at large. There's a lot of resources that we've found that many are not aware of that SECTER does in our area. And they also cover a lot of larger portion of the state than most were aware of. So I welcome you all. I thank you for putting this presentation together. And we do record these. So I would just suggest to any other commissioners that are on that we can keep the word out that this is something that they can view in the future. So with that, I'm going to pass it to Nancy Kauser.
Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for letting us be here tonight to share what SECTER does for this region and what we hope to do for the businesses here. As Bill mentioned, I'm the executive director of the Southeastern Connecticut Enterprise Region, SECTER. And I'll just quickly go over what the heck we are and what our role is. But you're really here to hear from my amazing staff. So I'll just take just a minute or two and then turn it over to staff to talk about their specific programs for businesses. So SECTER is the region's designated economic development organization. And that means we represent the region in economic development activities. And we are certified federally by the Economic Development Agency of the Department of Commerce, that's commonly known as EDA. And by the state, by the Department of Economic and Community Development, and by the Office of Policy Management. And we also partner very closely with the Council of Governments. We primarily coordinate, write, and implement the region's comprehensive economic development strategy, which is a 5-year plan that kind of lays out what are our priorities for the region. So our current plan was written in 2017. It'll have to be renewed in 2022. We're already working on a plan for that. We hope that many of you will be involved. The more voices we have, the better. And the great thing about a SEDS is that once it's approved by the myriad number of people that have to approve it, including public comment, it enables the region to compete for federal grants from the Economic Development Agency. If there is no SEDS, a region is not eligible for a grant. And those grants can pay for infrastructure, can pay for needs assessments. For example, we're working with the town of Waterford to put together a grant for highest and best use of the Crystal Mall. You know, what can we do with that property once they leave? We're working with some towns on dock projects, on a bridge project, all sorts of things that can be funded. For Groton, we are very close to submission with UConn Avery Point on a needs assessment for housing a center on Avery Point that will commercialize research, especially around the undersea area. So that would be of direct benefit to Groton. We provide a lot of value for our member municipalities. In addition to the SEDS, we do a lot of data, and we've done data projects for some developments in Groton. We have provided grant support, like I mentioned, site finding. So right now we're helping BioCT find a new tenant. They lost their anchor tenant. So we are marketing the property for them. And we're working on regional marketing efforts. So right now we're doing a lot of webinars, things like this. We just did one on the foreign trade zone, which I encourage businesses to really learn about. We've done one on the Housing Preservation Office. And we're going to be working over the next year towards creating a really valuable marketing piece, a regional prospectus that'll really help anyone interested in doing business in our region learn about it. And that'll be available to be linked to the Groton website. So we'll be working on that starting next fall. It'll be both a hard copy and digital product. And we're really looking forward to doing that. So our role is really kind of anything that needs to be done to push forward regional economic development. Under that hat, we have a number of programs that directly serve the region and its businesses. And I'm going to ask staff to go through their specific programs. At the end of this presentation is everyone's contact information. So, you know, Paige, Sam, we'll send this to you. Feel free to send this to anybody who would like to have it. We're going to start with our small business lending program. We were all just joking before this started that we were going to go out and have a beer soon, and we couldn't wait to go to Beard Brewing, which is actually one of our clients. We've done a lot of businesses in Groton. Our small business lending program is headed by Annie Chambers, and Melinda Wilson also is working in that program. And Annie, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about specifically what you do.
Hey, good evening. Thank you so much for asking us to join you. We have, unlike a lot of economic development agencies in the world, we have a couple of things that make us special, and one of them is the small business lending capacity. We have in our wheelhouse several revolving loan funds, be they through the Economic Development Administration, be they through indirectly through DECD, State of Connecticut, or be they our own private fundings now that we're able to use for what we call non-traditional lending. We do non-bankable transactions. We are not allowed to use the people's money to compete with private industry. So all our loans are either referred by a banker or are in participation with a lender. Oftentimes, a lender will be comfortable at a certain level, but it isn't comfortable exceeding that. And so they oftentimes call us and say, will you participate, or will you do this part of the deal and we'll do the rest of it? We're also allowed for economic development purposes to sometimes do the tail end of a transaction. And we've done it a few times in our lifetime. For instance, we did a major project in Ledyard several years ago now, Led Patel, which is the big shopping center, car wash, gas station, et cetera, in the center of Ledyard. And what happened there at the end of the day, after the feds came in, after the state came in, after the bank came in, after private equity came in, after the town came in, there was a gap. Our lenders, our funders allowed us to do that gap financing to make the deal happen. We leverage, we do the bank portion of an SBA 504 on occasion. As I said, we do partner. We do recapitalize our principal back into the RLF funds. We don't live on our principal. We live on interest and fees. We serve all of Eastern, Northern, and Southern Connecticut's Council of Governments. And we provide technical assistance, working with Judith, working with PTAC, and working with yours truly that is now 40 years in the commercial lending business. We all have a pretty good idea of what needs to be done, who might be interested in partnering with us, what properties might work the best, et cetera. So that in a nutshell is what we do down the road from you. Yes, we've done several projects in Groton. We've done Beard Brewing, Mystic Cheese Company. We were originally the partner with Bank of Montreal on Maria Hanna's project out there at the industrial park. We've been a good steward of the public money in the region.
And Annie, it's fair to say, I think that even though we're non-traditional lenders, the process is very much like a bank, right? It's an application process. The interest rates are very fair. They're not usurious by any means. As a matter of fact, we'll talk a little bit about CARES Act money in a little, but they're very competitive. If we can't do the whole deal, we'll find partners to help get the whole deal put together. And very often that's the SBA, that's a bank, that's SECTER. And SECTER will often lead the whole project. And that happened with Beard Brewing and Mystic Cheese. SECTER really acted almost like the construction agent to get that whole thing done. We do it because it's a community benefit. So our lending is different than a bank in that it's not a profit center. It's a community benefit to support economic development.
And we also do loans, when I say not bankable, it's non-bankable for the traditional reasons, and it's not bankable because perhaps it's a project that the average bank doesn't really understand. We do aquaculture and agriculture. I've done small molecule drug discovery. As I said, with the Bank of Montreal, we were the partner on survival systems. That was something that at the time, banks looked at and said, a dive pool. And so, we're allowed to do things that perhaps, aren't traditional lending for other reasons other than credit and equity and all of that other stuff.
Great, thanks very much, Annie. I'm now going to move on to a program that Procurement Technical Assistance Center, and the director of that program is Frank Dixon. And this is a statewide program. Frank, I'm going to leave it to you to describe what you do here.
Thank you, Nancy. Good evening, everybody. My name is Frank Dixon. I'm the state director for the Connecticut Procurement Technical Assistance Center. We are funded by the Department of Defense with some funds from the Connecticut Department of Economic Community Development, and we are administered by the Defense Logistics Agency. There's a PTAC in every state, Guam, Puerto Rico, but we are proud to be in the state of Connecticut under SECTER's umbrella. Connecticut PTAC, we have 5 offices around the state, headquartered in Groton, Milford, Rocky Hill, East Hartford, and Hartford. And our primary mission is to assist Connecticut businesses understand how to sell their products and services to the federal, state, and local government. We also work in a liaison capacity after we work with our clients in their education of government contracting, understanding the various registrations in government contracting, and the solicitations, going after the solicitations. We help our clients identify contracting opportunities via federal or state or local, via our internal bid match. We help them understand the bid requirements, understand some of the regulations when they're attempting to sell their products and services in the public sector. All relevant registrations and other bid preparation support. Relevant registrations in the format of any formal education requirements that they might need to attend when building their government contracting acumen. We help them understand all the trends and the forecasting and who's buying their particular product and services in the public sector. And something major that we educate and train our clients on is some of the socioeconomic registrations, whether you're a veteran or women-owned or economically disadvantaged women-owned or 8A HUD zone on the federal level, and on the state level, on any small or minority business certifications that assist our clients best position themselves to go after and be eligible for any set-aside opportunities that's out there for them. We have a vibrant webinar series that we provide educational training and across all sectors of the government. We also bring in some of our prime contractors and some of the municipality leaders to talk about how to do business in their sector as well. Last year, our client base, which is just shy of around 600 now, won around $286 million in prime and subcontract awards, which in turn relates to creating and or retaining somewhere around 5,000 jobs with about $16 million in tax revenue. So that was a big win for us last year as a PTAC. So again, we serve all 160 plus towns and municipalities around the state. And I'm glad we had a chance to sit and talk to you about some of the no-cost services that we have here in the state of Connecticut. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Frank. So obviously with PTAC, you automatically think of EB, right? And PTAC recently did a webinar, how to do business with EB, and we're going to be repeating that in this region. But the government buys everything. So Frank has had clients that sell chocolate to commissaries, that sell T-shirts, that sell scooters. So the government buys anything. This is a no-cost service, and there are a lot of businesses out there that charge thousands of dollars for this work. We have a great counselor right here in Groton. So please, if you're ever interested in government contracting, give us a call. We're happy to help work with you. And we've also worked with municipalities to help them do their SAM registrations and everything else that needs to happen. So thank you very much, Frank. The next service that I'd like to introduce to you is our Small Business Development Center, and that's Judith Lamson Rockwell. Last June, we were very fortunate to be contacted by the Connecticut Small Business Development Center, which is headquartered at UConn. And they asked us to execute a subcontract with them so that we could house an SBDC counselor hired by SECTER right at our Groton office. We're thrilled to have Judith on board. It really means that there's no wrong door. You can come to SECTER and talk about lending, talk about becoming a government contractor. But the first thing you need to do is make sure you have a business plan in place, make sure your financials are all set, understand your market capacity, all these and more that Judith can help you with. So with that, I'll turn it over to Judith.
Thanks, Nancy. Hi, I'm Judith. And as Nancy mentioned, I am the Small Business Development Center counselor within SECTER. And I work directly with businesses to help them meet their goals. And that could be a wide variety of goals, from startup, business plan, gaining capital, access to capital, financial analysis, marketing, sales, intellectual property, whatever a business is finding that they need assistance with. I work at no cost to the business and come up with a plan together to help meet their goals. It's been very enjoyable to work with these different businesses, and there's been a tremendous amount of startups that I've been helping to create business plans, get lending. It's just been a wonderful experience to work with all these businesses. No two are alike. Every business has its own course, its own path, and different goals, different culture. And it's just been very interesting to hear how one person, individual, or business would like to grow and expand, or maybe it's a unique idea. It's just been a privilege to work with them to make this happen. And what I do is I work one-on-one, as I mentioned, but I also will work within our group to collaborate. So if it's something that I don't have the necessary expertise in, I work with maybe another SBDC counselor to collaborate, or perhaps it's someone within our group, especially with lending. I'll work with Annie and Melinda. They've also helped me with getting some data for different markets, so it's been put into our business plans. Really, there's no limitation to what can be done to help the businesses, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, Judith. One of the important things that Judith is helping with right now, very timely, is PPP, payroll protection loans. So if a small business is looking either for a second tranche or even a first application, Judith is happy to help you, or even with forgiveness. The EIDL loans, the economic injury loans, she can help with. The new shuttered venue loans, or grants. Many towns have their own small grant programs, so she's able to help with those as well. So anything that you find that you need support with, Judith is happy to help. And she personally has a lot of experience in fashion merchandising, manufacturing of clothing, and is a small business owner herself. She owns a coffee shop, so she's got a lot of experience in the restaurant business. So she's been a phenomenal addition to our staff. We're thrilled to have her. Thanks, Judith. Now I'm going to turn it over to Sherry Cody, who is actually the one who put all this together for me, and I really appreciate it. Sherry is a very familiar face to the region. She was at the Chamber of Commerce of Eastern Connecticut for a long time, and we were very thrilled to have her join us as the Regional Economic Development Manager. And her role is to help with recovery efforts. So it's a new role at SECTER beginning in November, and she really kind of adds to the plethora of different programming options that we have. So Sherry, I'll turn it over to you with what some of the work is that you're doing.
Thank you so much, Nancy, and good evening, everyone. I'll ask Melinda if you're interested in jumping in at all. If I forget something, please do, because Melinda and I are quite the team, and we do a lot of this together. So it's hard to follow up on Frank and Annie and Judith with all of the free services that they offer to you as a business leader. They do such a great job, and I can't talk enough about all of the services that SECTER has to offer, and it's free, you know, so please take advantage of what we're offering to you. If you need assistance, call us, any one of us, and we can help you. So as Nancy mentioned, I'm relatively new and working through SECTER on this EDA grant for recovery. A lot of the work that I've been doing is directly with our municipalities. So I'll just go over a couple of those things. We worked with the City of New London to put together a foreign trade zone webinar to make sure that businesses in the region know that they were able to expand the territory of their foreign trade zone to cover all of Southeastern Connecticut. So some of the businesses that are interested in taking advantage of the benefits of that would learn about that through the webinar. Melinda and I are working diligently on helping the city of Norwich with some community block grants that they're giving out to their small businesses. They're assisting with rent payments and with utility payments. So we've been tasked with doing some underwriting work to help them out as they're a little bit short-staffed. We're working with an arm of DECD at the state of Connecticut called Advanced CT to put together a webinar to talk about SiteFinder, which is a platform online that allows developers and municipalities to put up their available properties, and then developers can find available properties there. Developers can also post their needs and wants, and it's a great way to make those connections and marry the developers and the property owners so that we can get some of the properties moved and developed in our area. So we're working on putting together a webinar for our municipalities and for our commercial realtors on that SiteFinder. Nancy talked about our strong relationship with EDA. A few of the efforts that we're working on include an incubator kitchen in Wyndham. We're working, of course, with the City of New London and Stonington on some EDA grant dollars for their ports and marinas. One of our efforts is working with the Eastern Chamber of Commerce on a potential incubator for businesses. And of course, we've all heard about the Crystal Mall and the fact that I guess the owner was turning back the title to it to the bank. So we're working with the town of Waterford on a feasibility study to see what else we could be doing with that mall if retail is not going to be as strong as it has been in the past. We do a lot of these sort of presentations to our municipalities to try to just make sure people know about the services that SECTER offers. Nancy talked about their regional prospectus that we'll be doing, which is very exciting. We've already started some of that groundwork, which is to find out the behavior patterns of the audience that's coming to our region looking for information. We're not talking about visitors or tourism. We're talking about people that are visiting our municipal websites looking for information. And so when we can identify their behavior patterns, it will help us put together a prospectus that will drive more development in our region. So Melinda, did I miss anything there? Or did I cover at least the high level things that we've been working on?
Very well done. Thank you very much.
So Melinda, I'm not letting you off the hook because Melinda is really a backbone of a lot that we do around data, and a really real knowledge on a lot of economic development topics such as brownfields and opportunity zones. And Melinda, under your lending hat, if you would just talk a little bit about the additional loan funding that we have from CARES to help small businesses with recovery.
Sure. The Economic Development Administration, as Sherry mentioned, has taken a very active, proactive role in trying to prepare us to help you. So if you have any sort of, for your commission members, any businesses that you know, or members of the business community that are here tonight, any sort of expansion that you may want to do related to pandemic recovery, so many things are changing for us, excuse me, that can be assisted with some lending funds. We have less restriction on these funds than others. So bring your ideas to us, and Annie and I can help you with that.
Thanks, Melinda. So that's really the heart of the work that we do. These are all the contacts. You either take a picture, or Sam and Paige are more than welcome to send this out to you. Easiest way to get us is SECTER at seCTer.org, and we'll triage you to the correct person to speak with you. Thank you for this opportunity. We'd be happy to take any questions that you might have.
I do have a question that came in from one of the attendees, and I've got a question of my own, but I'll start with the one that came in from one of our E.D.C members, Susan Dowling. She asked that she had heard that Amazon might be a partner as part of the mall. We don't know how true that is, and if that's being well received, or if it's being considered. Is there any kind of authenticity to that?
So I'll take that one. We had actually heard that rumor and promptly called Waterford, and they said they are. So it's an unfounded rumor at this point. Nobody has approached Waterford with that concept. The people that own the piece of the mall that supposedly it's going into are unaware. Doesn't mean it's not happening, but we did learn that Amazon will frequently put out massive job ads in a region and make it look like they're moving there when actually they're just trying to entice workers to some of their other locations. Mm-hmm. I do think that Amazon is coming to Plainfield, and Melinda and Sherry or Frank, let me know if I'm wrong, but I think they're coming into Plainfield with a distribution center. But many of us are saying, oh, good, we need our own personal lockers at Amazon, which is a bad thing, because we all need to be definitely supporting businesses, small businesses more, and shopping local as much as we can, which we certainly promote. But long way of saying we haven't heard that confirmed. And I think Plainfield is the only one on the block that I know of right now.
Great. Thanks, Nancy. And I'd like to ask you the question I had, and then others can jump in. How, as it stands, how do most businesses find out about your services? We're thrilled to have this opportunity to play a part in getting the word out, and we're willing to do it kind of creatively. So do you have any feedback on where people primarily hear from you? And it may vary by service as well, I would understand.
It does vary by service, and I will fully admit that we haven't done as good a job marketing as we should have. So we've really ramped up our marketing efforts through social media, through newspapers. We're sponsoring now, which is a business publication. But word of mouth tends to be the way that we get most of our business. A client that has been served, that was happy with the service they got, will refer someone, particularly in PTAC. The prime contractors, when they're contacted by EB all the time, they're constantly bombarded by small businesses. How do I sell to you? How do I sell to you? How do I sell to you? They'll have them contact PTAC to really be ready, to be procurement ready. Banks refer to us all the time for loans that they can't do for whatever reason. So I think that the best way, and I appreciate your willingness to get the word out, the best way to get the word out is just have someone call, SECTER at seCTer.org or 860-437-4659. we'll talk to anybody about our services. And if they need something that we can't do for some reason, we'll find a partner that will help them. We have tons of partners that we work with. We try really hard not to duplicate services. We're happy to be that warm handoff if it's something that we can't do.
Well, thanks. And I'll just say that, the way you describe Judith's role, it makes perfect sense to complement your services because, I'd like to be able to talk to businesses in Groton and just lower that barrier to entry and have them feel like they may not even know what they want and what the next steps are, but they can get started with Judith from the way it sounds and, just even get an orientation to what their options are.
Absolutely. I mean, you don't know what you don't know. So a great example early on with Judith is she reviewed a pretty comprehensive business plan, but it was missing one, she felt was missing one key piece of data. And we were able to pull that data that really strengthened the business plan to a level where it was now a fundable deal. So happily, Judith brought such strength to our organization. And then Sherry being out and about and meeting with folks like you is also helping to get the word out and helping to make those connections for us so that we can grow.
Great. I've had one other question come in from an attendee, and we could see if we could field this somehow. The question is, do you also do forecasting and planning support for local governments and businesses?
So for local governments, we do a lot of support with data. We have a number of data tools that we use to help. There's things called tapestries that talk about, in this neighborhood, there's this type of a demographic, and this is what they tend to buy for businesses. For governments, we obviously there's census data. There's some other economic development data, jobs data. So one of the things for Groton that we purchased was economic multiplier data. If this type of business comes in, this is the economic multiplier. If this type of business comes in, these are the type of employees that you need. So Groton mentioned that they needed that type of data. We purchased it and have it for all industries now. We'll be purchasing that annually. For businesses, that's an integral part of the Small Business Development Center. She has a number of tools at her fingertips to help businesses really assess the market for the type of business that they want to open and where.
Perfect.
That answers the question.
Yep. Thank you. I will yield the floor to Paige at this point.
I had a question as well, and I want to thank SECTER for explaining who they are, what they offer, and the diversity of services that are provided to the region and here in Groton. And just to be clear, if someone hasn't mentioned it, SECTER is located in Groton on Thames Street. So in our backyard, we have this amazing economic development asset serving our region. But my question deals with some of the recovery funds that are being provided to SECTER for the region. I think the slide indicated there was roughly $2 million that is slated to the region. In addition, municipalities are receiving some of their own funds as well to assist some businesses, but also infrastructure where there has been impact elsewhere in the community. So has SECTER thought about how maybe there could be an opportunity to possibly marry the local money that might be dedicated for business loans with some of the regional funds that you're going to be receiving? I know that's just a concept, but have you had any thoughts on that at all?
Absolutely. So the $2 million is small business loan funding. And we actually historically have married our funding with municipal funding. And an example would be in Norwich. They have pools of funding for small business loans, and we frequently partner with them, sometimes 50-50 or more, depending on what a business might need. So this funding that we have is absolutely pining to be leveraged. We love to leverage funding, and we love to help a business put together a package that works for them. That is most certainly on our radar and something that we would be really, really excited to partner with you on. In addition, Sherry's role is an EDA role. We have data products that we've purchased through the regional monies that we make available to municipalities. The regional marketing product will be available to you to use. We're all about partnering, particularly with our friends in Groton. We work together all the time, and if there's an innovative idea that we can pilot, we're all for it.
Thank you very much. I'll just say, we've been asked for the past year about creating a small business fund. And although we want to help all businesses, we do, we also learned through our surveys that there were significant federal monies that were available. And not all businesses in Groton have pursued that for a variety of reasons. Those who did pursue the funding, the majority of them did receive significant dollars. So the funding wasn't the limiting factor per se. And we were hesitant to actually launch a new loan program when we really had no experience in running a business loan program. We would rather partner with someone such as SECTER, who has significant experience in administering such a program. Thank you.
So, absolutely, we're happy to work with you on that. An idea might be perhaps you use some funding to do some loan forgiveness. So, a loan gets written, a business does what they say they're going to do, maybe retains or creates some jobs. And at the end of a certain amount of time, perhaps local funding kicks in to help partially forgive the loan or help pay the payments for the first few months. There are a number of examples across the country of how this COVID money is being used and leveraged. So we'd be happy to certainly have a conversation with you as to what some of the ideas are that are out there.
Paige, I do have another question, if this is a good time to jump in, from an attendee. Craig from the E.D.C. wants to know, has SECTER developed any material that reflects the current COVID-related financial support and how to access those programs? And if so, could that be made available?
So we have not, because there are two sources that are already created that we rely on. One is the DECD website, which has a whole COVID page and a new business subpage in DECD for businesses. So that's one for a lot of resources. The Small Business Development Center also has a fantastic resource on programs that are available. So Craig, I'd be happy to send both of those links. And if you don't feel that they're satisfactory, we're certainly happy to take a look at doing something here for the region. But we try to drive as much business as we can towards those resources because they were developed, the state website was developed with taxpayer monies. So, we want to make sure that it's being used. And it also is a one-stop shop for businesses to register and things like that. And will soon be available for businesses to actually pay taxes. Not that that's a fun topic. But that one-stop shop is really important to the state.
Thanks, Nancy. Craig just specified saying that, it's certainly possible that businesses may not know what to ask for. And, from our standpoint at the Groton Economic Development staff level, we have a website where we've tried to specify those things. But at the same time, I like the idea of people reaching out and maybe just making an appointment with Judith and getting oriented on what they might be eligible for.
Absolutely. That's definitely, and I think you hit on something very important that we have found too. In doing some, helping Norwich with their small business grant program, working through PPP and EIDL, some of those applications are just overwhelming. And most small businesses aren't, sitting behind a desk just thinking all day long. They're hands-on, they're working, they're exhausted. It would be our pleasure to be able to help people through a process like that and help them assess what would be the best for them.
Great, thanks. So just to round that question out, I'll get whatever links you have, Nancy. It's probably stuff that's on our website as well, but I can also make sure that it goes out to the folks who did register for the tonight's event. Those are all the questions that we received at this point. They've all been addressed. So Paige, anything else at this point?
Well, I'd be interested to hear Bill's comments as a banker regarding SECTER and how SECTER and financial institutions work together, and anything he has to say in that regard.
I'd be happy to share from my side. I've worked with SECTER personally with the bank many years now. I've known Nancy since she came on board, and it's been a great relationship. From a bank perspective, we do refer over the small business owner that'll come in with the idea that is what we would consider not bank ready, but we have found the resources with inside SECTER have been just invaluable for them. Even if they can't proceed, they get a better perspective of what they need to be doing in the way of steps to get themselves ready for SECTER. And then what our real goal is to get them ready for the banks, is what we found. So I've always said that SECTER has been a gem in our backyard that I don't think for the E.D.C. that we haven't leveraged as well as we could, but banks have been utilizing it, and being now a new entity bank in town that came in, I'm even positioning SECTER with my regional president, because I think there's a lot more, at least from my bank's perspective, that we could be doing to support their efforts. I think they've been wise not to, they've worked off of limited resources in the way of funding, and I think they've done it great. So the marketing aspect is someplace where maybe the dollars weren't best spent. I really feel from a banking community, and I know some of the other ones that are other local, we consider competitors, but we're all in it together when it comes to utilizing this type of service for the communities we serve. So yeah, great to work with. And I'll tell you that the business owners that I've communicated with, that they've come back and have been very thankful. And the most I usually hear is, I never knew they existed. And that's part of our job as a commission, I think, to get the word out, and from a town perspective, but also as the business community at large, and whether it be the banks or other people that have utilized the services. So I really thank Nancy for putting this together. The team is great. I know the team's great, and our job now is to get that word out. And I think it's a great piece that we have in our backyard to get the economy really moving in this area, and we're seeing developers and such that have a lot of interest, and a lot of keen interest, and not just from EB standpoint, from some of the other things that are going on that SECTER is directly involved with, and whether it's agriculture or other specific areas that we really have a niche market for. So as I said, thank you, Nancy, so much. Thank you to your team. And I think this is a great resource that we'll have recorded that we can refer other people over to.
I'm just checking to see, looks like we've addressed all the questions at this point. So unless there's anything else, Paige? You're on mute, Paige.
You'd think I'd learn that by now, but I just wanted to thank everyone as well, in particular, the entire SECTER team. And Sam, we are going to actually post this so that those who are not able to attend tonight will have the ability to learn more about SECTER and the partnership we hope to foster between Groton and SECTER moving forward. Isn't that correct?
Absolutely. we'll get the word out.
I think we've reached the end of the event, unless there are any last minute comments or questions. Any additional from you, Bill or Nancy?
Thank you so much for this opportunity. We look forward to continuing this partnership.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so
very
much.
Bye-bye.